Welcome to episode 5 of FreightFM podcast with Interlog USA. We're really excited for you guys to join. My name's Rachel. I'm one of the hosts here with FreightFM and work with the marketing team here at Interlog. So I'm really excited to have Madison Steffen here. She's our import operations manager, and she's going to share some insights into what's currently been happening in 2023, kind of what's going on with Chinese New Year and what to expect kind of once China starts to open back up. So hi, Madison. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Rachel.
Awesome. So I think we can just kind of start with any insights you want to do as to kind of what the last 3 weeks of January has been. Have we seen any significant changes before Chinese New Year? I know it's been kind of noticed that maybe the demand hasn't been there. So things have been kind of progressing sooner than they typically do. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, this year is different than what we've seen, especially in the past 3 years, where we've kind of had that pre-Chinese New Year push where suppliers want to get materials out of their factories and the buyers here in the US want their product moving before those factories shut down. But we really haven't seen that push this year. And actually, on the opposite, we saw factories shut down earlier this year than normal and just have a longer holiday break.
Okay. And with that, are we still booking things or getting things scheduled, or has that kind of been paused just because things have kind of shut down sooner than we expected?
This past week, so this is like the official last week before the Chinese New Year, we were booking a few air freight shipments just before the factories do shut down. Otherwise, it was factories saying, hey, we won't have the product ready this week. You're going to have to wait until we return back. So once February starts, we'll start moving those materials, but we're already booking some full containers and LCL shipments for when they do return back.
Okay. So do we kind of expect the first week in February for it to start to pick back up, or what timeline in February do you think that should start getting back to normal?
I think it will be kind of staggered depending on like when factories do decide to come back. Because some buyers here in the US were like gave the green light for their factories to be like, you know what, you can shut down for the month of January. We don't have the demand to import right now. So just have your longer break. But when they do return back, yeah, I do expect a little bit more push when factories come back, but it won't be like all on the same day. It'll be like some will return right after, maybe on February 1st or the following week on the 6th, and gradually pick back up through the month.
Right. Okay. And kind of just some tips for our importers. If people kind of know what their volume is going to be for February, or they're trying to figure out when to start booking, are they able to start doing that now with their forwarders, or what's the best plan to get the quickest bookings they can? Is that just trying to get it down now, or is that really going to be the push the second they open up where options are available?
I think it's always good to have that conversation started as soon as possible, just introducing the overseas agent to the shipper so they can communicate on a ready date and kind of plan a booking around then. So you are booking a little bit out and not urgently the kind of last minute, but just whenever you can start that conversation, it's always good, and we'll place the soonest available booking.
Awesome. And I know rates are always a big topic, especially people that have seen the last couple of years how rates have gone up and down quickly. Do we feel like anything, I mean, we can't predict too much, but do you feel like there is going to be some type of a rate increase or any GRIs come February?
I don't expect rates to really increase once the factories do return back to work. It's kind of going to be, I think, a little more gradual. And if anything, the rates are going to stay where they are or continue to go down. Because I think we do have room on the inland lanes and the East Coast rates for those to drop a little bit more. I think West Coast is pretty much where it's going to be at for a while and stay stay at that level, but we definitely have room for the rates to continue to go down this year.
Awesome. Sweet. And is there anything else you'd like to touch on kind of with what we're seeing right now with Chinese New Year? I know year after year, this one's kind of been a little different, but I know the last few years have been different for a lot of people and a lot of their situations. Do you want to recap kind of what this year and comparison to the previous years?
Yeah, it's been a crazy past 3 years, and just how the market has completely shifted and so fast, where we saw rates skyrocket and people were paying tens of thousands of dollars just to get a container here, when pre-COVID that was a couple $1,000s.
Right.
And then back in 22, when we saw the rates start to decrease, and then in Q3 how they really plummeted and kind of hit the floor. I think we're going to return back to trends of pre-COVID, where the rates are pretty steady. And then the carriers, I think this year are going to have they're in March going to have their BCO contracts negotiated, and then the NVOCC contracts negotiated, which that was really not touched a lot upon in the past couple of years, because everyone was booking on the spot market just to find space.
Right. Yeah, that it definitely has been quite the past couple of years, but I think a lot has been learned and how to kind of find different options and make sure that you do have a backup plan when maybe something does go sideways. But thanks, Madison, for all this information. Just so our viewers get to know a little bit about you, what do you kind of do and manage at Interlog?
So I oversee our FCL, LCL, and air import departments, along with our documentation team. So we look at everything from the very start of the booking of the shipment, making sure documentation is set up so once it gets here, we can clear customs smoothly and have a good final mile.
Awesome. And Madison is a great resource if you guys do have any questions or want to learn a little bit more about what we discussed. So we'll definitely put her contact information on the next slide before we end this podcast. But Madison, it was a pleasure having you on our podcast. I appreciate you taking some time today to talk with me. I think this was great. I'm sure our viewers will have some questions. So I'll send any emails that I get over to you, but I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you, Rachel.
Awesome. Have a good weekend. Thanks, Madison. And thank you guys for joining.